Gemini, Gemini, Gemini. This is all about the Gemini Sun and the Sun in the third house. If you're interested in finding out more about this Gemini energy, stay tuned. Hey you guys, it's P, the Sagittarian Goddess, and I am back with another video in my Sun Sign series. If you're new, go ahead and subscribe. If you're returning, welcome back. I got my handy dandy notes right here. And I'm so excited about this video because the Gemini, people love to talk about the Gemini. Gemini, this is an air sign. Gemini is ruled by planet Mercury, and the symbol of the sign is the twins. Yes, twins. Two different people. And this air sign is mutable. This sign isn't fixed or cardinal, but mutable, very adaptable to its surroundings. The parts that the Gemini rule over is the lungs, the arms, and the hands. Gemini is the third zodiac sign in astrology, ruled by Mercury, and Mercury rules over communication and processing information. When Gemini is in the sun, or if you have a third house sun, then you will be very sociable. Even if the Gemini feels awkward or shy, they will still have a good way of communicating. They will be good at communicating. When it comes to the Gemini energy in the sun, when it's in the ego, because the sun in astrology represents self, the ego. So when Gemini is here or third house is here, this makes the Gemini a multitasker, a natural multitasker. They are good at juggling multiple things at a time. So the Gemini Sun can be really good at getting things done in a hurry. And I can see why people while others would consider the Gemini to be like out of control or like not stable, because they do juggle a lot of things at once. The Gemini Sun or the third house Sun person can bore very, very easily, hence the multitasking. So multitasking actually really helps the Gemini with its boredom. The third house Sun person can seem all over the place. Why? Because the Gemini is never just thinking about one thing in particular, ever. They're never thinking about one thing. It's like the Gemini constantly has all this information just running through them, kind of like through their blood vessels, like through their veins, like their blood does. Like they're constantly receiving information, they're constantly storing information, and they're constantly sharing it with other people. When the Gemini Sun or the third house Sun person is at work or at a party, their body is there, they're looking good, they're smelling good, they're interacting. Yes, they're interacting with probably multiple people at once, but their minds are usually somewhere else thinking about a list of other things, because the Gemini is ruled by planet Mercury, and the communication that the Gemini receives is constant, and sometimes it can be too much for even the Gemini to handle. Like, this type of energy is great, and it can be really, really good for multitasking and handling multiple things at a time, or even learning and furthering education. But for concentration, the Gemini Sun people, Gemini Sun and third house Sun, they have a really hard time concentrating on one thing. And that can be a struggle, but it can also be a blessing. The Gemini is going to naturally have this childlike energy. It's not to say that they aren't mature or they can't be mature, but they have this playful, innocent type nature about them. The Gemini, they will ask a ton of questions just like a child would. They will ask you a ton of questions. Yes, a ton of questions like why this, why that, how is that. And this can be very annoying to some people, But when you really get to know the Gemini, you realize that they genuinely just want to know. They genuinely just want to, figure out how things work. This is Mercury, so these people get this spark inside of them when they're receiving information. These are the type of people that they will search a lot. They may use Google search engines a lot to look up things that they might not fully understand. Just read a lot. Gemini could love to read. The third house sun person could love to read and be in the know about the things that's going on nearby around them. Probably not so much, worldly, but these people are very interested in knowing about their communities and, what's going on around them. Gemini Sun and the third house sun, these people, they actually enjoy learning. They actually enjoy information as a whole. They may acquire a lot of knowledge, but they may not put everything that they learn to use. And with the Gemini energy, it's probably almost impossible for them to put everything that they learn into use because they have a lot of information. The Gemini sun and a third house sun, they can be very great speakers. They will have information about many different things, not just one in particular, like multiples. The Gemini sun, they may not be well known in one subject, but they'll be knowledgeable about multiple different subjects. Gemini being only knowledgeable in maybe one or two subjects would be quite boring for them, and they will need to explore and learn more than that. Having this trait about the Gemini, not being able to just focus on one thing, not saying that they can't, because they actually can, but it's very hard and it can be very boredom. It can be torturous for the Gemini to concentrate on one thing. So with this trait, to others, they can look very inconsistent, immature, superficial, on the surface, never really diving deep into something. Yes, the Gemini can come off this way. Yes, the third house sun can come off this way. But I think the thing is, they just have a really, really short attention span. And I'm not trying to make any excuses. That's no excuse not to concentrate on one thing at a time. But they do have a short attention span. And I believe this is why they can come off as being superficial. Oftentimes, the Gemini's mouth can move quicker than its brain, or the brain can move quicker than the Gemini's mouth. They are so quick that sometimes they can say things without being 100% sure about it, and before they know it, they've said something, because this is air, mutable air, so they're very adaptable. These people have all this information running through them. And at the same time, they're trying to adapt to the world around them. They're constantly trying to adapt to every situation and every different type of person. So that can be a lot to keep up with. Just so you all can be a little bit nicer to my Geminis. Gemini and third house sun doesn't do well under too much routine. So they can grow bored, not able to learn enough, to gather enough information to grow. They don't do too well if they're in a career that requires them to dive too deep into the details of things, because they are kind of a big picture type. The symbol of the Gemini is the twins, of course, and with twins, you can have a set of twins, but those twins aren't the same. They're not going to like everything the exact same way, although they look alike, although they could look like the very same person. They can have two different personalities. And the reason why I say this is because the Gemini sun and the third house sun can be quite moody. Yes, moody. Like, these people, like, you could go to sleep with the Gemini at night and wake up and you wonder where did you come from? Where did you come from? Because this isn't the person that I went to sleep with last night and this morning, doo-doo-doo. Or you could work with the Gemini and one day they can be really, really helpful, really informative. And then the next day it's like a totally different person. And I'm not saying that that's not normal based off moods and based off what people are going through, but it's different when the Gemini is in the sun. When the Gemini is in the sun, this change is not just subtle, it's quite dramatic. It's quite great. There are really good things about the Gemini. One of them is that they're mutable. So because they're mutable, they can seem superficial, but at the same time, these people are very adaptable to to their surroundings and to the people that they come in contact with. So they can be very charming, they can be witty. When they speak, they can be funny. You know, the things that they say, they can have a great sense of humor, and this is very attractive. The personality of the Gemini Sun and the third house Sun is intelligence. Like, the Gemini is going to know certain things and you're going to be like, okay, you're smart. How did you know all of this? Teach me more. Tell me more. And the Gemini will be happy to tell you more. Knowledge is very attractive. So the Gemini Sun and the third house Sun will be very attractive. They will know a lot about different things. And they are the first of the air signs of the zodiac. So they're going to be knowledgeable about a lot of things. The Gemini is driven by intelligence and information. Gemini has a youthfulness and a very playful nature. They can be very fun to be around. Like, they can be like the turn up people. Like the ones that you'd be like, okay, well, yeah, you're coming to my party. You're coming to the party because you bring the party. Like, the Gemini can really, you know, liven up the place with that childlike energy. They can, you know, get people to get out of their comfort zones in that way, to where, you know, being okay with a sense of humor, being okay with exchanging information. They can bring that type of energy, you know, into a room. Because the Gemini's inconsistency in, you know, focusing on one thing, doing so much multitasking, they aren't the most dependable of the zodiac signs, but they can be very, very loyal. Very, very loyal. Okay, if this is the childlike energy of the zodiac in the air sign of Gemini, it takes a lot for a child. Not saying that Geminis are children, but I'm saying that the Gemini has a hard time concentrating. So if a Gemini is taking the time to concentrate on you or something that's important to you, and they're doing that, that takes a lot for that energy to say, yes, I'm going to follow through with this, you know. So don't ever take the Gemini's, you know, loyalty or time or effort for granted, because they put a lot into what they want to put a lot into, because they have so much that they could be putting into. All in all, the Gemini Sun and the third house Sun is a free spirit. They're free spirits. It's important though for the Gemini Sun and the third house Sun person to not attach themselves to so many obligations that they aren't sure that they can fulfill. Because people depend on you, Gemini. When you say you'll follow, you're going to do something, people expect for you to do it. People expect for you to follow through. And I'm sure you want people to be able to trust you and confide in you and know that, you know, you'll be there for them. Because I believe that the Gemini has good intentions, and they just have a hard time trying to keep up with everything. The Gemini has the tendency to just take on more than they can handle. The last points I'm going to make about the Gemini Sun and the third house Sun is be really, really mindful of this. Just listen. The Gemini can be very, very emotional, because the Gemini rarely takes the time to actually sit and think about how he or she feels, because they're so in their head. So it's important for the Gemini to know themselves emotionally and become emotionally mature. The Gemini often is thinking about everything and everyone else instead of what makes themselves tick. And this is just like a bomb waiting to explode. You don't want that. I hope you all enjoyed this video on my Gemini Sun and third house Sun video. If you're a Gemini, go ahead and leave me a comment and let me know, boo. If you have your Sun in the third house, drop me a comment. What is one of your most biggest challenges that you face as a Gemini? I will see you all in the next video.